Hi, and welcome to this week's session of Anatomy of a Transaction. This week, we're talking about transaction coordination, which I like to call the nervous system of the transaction. But let's do a quick recap and talk about the series before we get started. Let's talk about the series itself and what we're trying to accomplish here. This class is a class of mastery, not just mechanics. So what I believe is that when we understand the emotions, roles, and dynamics, especially our own and our clients, we become a steady force in the transaction that gets our clients to the finish line. And at the end of the day, what we want is clients at the finish line. I'm Jen Worthington. I have been in real estate for 27 years now, and I have been in every part of the real estate transaction. So I'm currently an associate broker. I'm also a licensed loan officer in all 50 states, but I spent about 10 years as a mortgage broker back in the early 2000s. I also own a title company right now. So I've been on pretty much every major side of the transaction. My philosophy in building a sustainable and successful business is based on being in flow, not hustle or force, as I call it. I actually even wrote a book about it called Flow Not Force, that I go over my flow method, which helps us to uh, focus a little bit more on easing into and attracting the business and success that we want rather than trying always to have to push so hard. That tends to throw us out of whack. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go through the course. I do want to real quickly also give you an overview of the whole series, the full anatomy, as we like to call it. Last week, we talked about agents and clients who are the heart of the transaction. And remember, we had those top 10 ways really to foster a partnership on the other side of the transaction, whether you're representing the buyer or the seller, and how you can work together with the other agent to have a win-win transaction. We also talked a bit about clients and understanding what we're trying to accomplish with them and how to keep them as calm as possible, as steady as possible as we move through the transaction. This week, we're talking about transaction coordination and some ancillary players in our transaction coordination. These are the nervous system pieces of our transaction. They kind of control the movements and forward progress as we go from contract to close. Next week, we are going to be talking to one of my good friends, Jason Dupree from Texana Bank, about how we can partner with our lender partners to help not only our clients, but ourselves maybe have a little bit more comfort and understanding around that mortgage process and how we can work together to help them do their part of the transaction. Week 4, we're going to be talking with Clear Title. We'll have Jess back on to help us with that. And we're going to talk about how do you partner with a title company? What is it exactly that they're doing? And what are they not doing? And how do we help our title company partners get us to that closing table as well as quickly as possible? Understand this, that when one system is stressed, the entire body feels it. So if you're out of whack or out of communication with your lender, everybody else feels that. If title is not functioning properly, everybody feels that. If you or the other agent aren't functioning properly, we just get out of whack and we get out of balance. So I think one of the best strategies we can have and employ in dealing with those imbalances is to understand what everybody's doing. And if we can understand at the end of the day, we're all trying to get those clients to the closing table because that's their goal, we can work better together. So let's just quickly review. Last week, we talked about clients. being the emotional center, how they work, what's their trigger points, and how we can help them regulate those emotions. Then we also talked about agents, what are each agent's role in the transaction. We also talked about agents as the heart of the transaction or the conductor of the orchestra, responsible to bringing everybody to the closing table. We kind of stand in the front on all sides, and we are conducting that orchestra and making good music, hopefully. The best way for us to make good music is to foster collaboration. And that is so, so important as we go through this. But this isn't always easy because we like to take control and hold on to things. But as we build our businesses and we want that success and we desire to get to that next level, we have to invest in others. We have to take the position of the conductor in the orchestra. The conductor doesn't play every instrument. The conductor knows how the music is supposed to sound. If they tried to play every instrument, it would be awful and we would all turn it off. The conductor trusts the musicians that they've assembled to play their parts and to play their parts well. When one part is out of tune, the conductor helps recognize that and helps the player tweak it. They don't jump off the conductor stand, go grab the instrument and start playing it. That just wouldn't work. So this is where we get it wrong in real estate so often. We get frustrated, we get irritated, and we try and take hold of the transaction and start doing a part that isn't ours to do. When that happens, chaos ensues. The music sounds really bad. The conductor knows how the music is supposed to sound, and we know how the transaction is supposed to go. So we have to trust our musicians or each part of the transaction to do its part, and then the music is good. So the only time that we're going to fall short is because we don't know what's going on, and it causes stress, confusion, bad music, usually for everybody. The whole impetus behind this series is that we can understand what's going on. Now, your first and most important team player that you're going to get or seek out is a transaction coordinator. Transaction coordinators are the nervous system. They are the ones who are going to move us forward in the transaction. One of the best investments you can make in yourself is to find a good transaction coordinator. And that takes me to this perception or this idea of making investments in yourself and in your business rather than seeing things as expenses. You can call a transaction coordinator an expense. You can call your bill at lunch an expense. You can call a trip to the store an expense, or you can start seeing everything in your life as an investment. If we start reframing our thoughts on how we use our money resources as investments rather than expenses, then our food becomes an investment in our energy and our wellness. Our investment in our mortgage or our rent becomes stability and wealth building. If we talk about expenses for our team, we're investing in a greater capacity, more scalability, and freedom of time for ourselves. So try and make that shift and realize that everything you spend money on has a return. Everything has a return. Your job is to demand the right return from all the investments that you make. It will help you make wiser investments as you go. Now, the way that that works in this particular position is that so many of us, and I was this way for years and years and years, like to control the transaction as much as possible. And we have this distorted view that if we're doing all of the work, we're controlling the transaction. Control feels safe, but ultimately, it is something that is going to limit how much you can do. You can only track so many parts of the transaction, of each transaction that you do. Each thing takes time. And when you're trying to do everything yourself, things fall through the cracks. You get frustrated, you drop balls, and people get frustrated with you, which makes for unhappy clients, unhappy partnerships, and less closings, which is not a good thing. Scaling, expanding your capacity, requires trust, delegation, and leadership. Again, you're not meant to play every instrument in the orchestra. You're meant to conduct it. And that's a beautiful place to be, right? Again, our conductor is the one who is bringing everything together and making that music beautiful. If you don't know how the transaction is supposed to sound, you can't conduct it. And that's why you're here, learning each part of the transaction so that you can bring everyone together. So let's know our roles. Agents, we are usually very good at relationship building and strategy and negotiations and problem solving and getting out there and being the face, being the conductor. Most agents are not the best at paperwork or deadlines or taking care of all the minutia in a transaction or tracking contingencies. You see, what happens when we try and put on that role is that we drain ourselves. We drain ourselves of energy that would better be used doing income producing activities that we are geared toward. It's our zone of genius, right? When we allow that to drain our energy, we're less effective. Not just on the income producing side, but we're less effective on the paperwork management side, those things that aren't our zone of genius. There's an agent that I work with, and he is amazing at talking to people. Like, you just want to talk to him. He's jolly, he's friendly, he has a beautiful voice. Like, he could sell ice to an igloo builder. Like, seriously, an amazing guy. However, if you take him out of that role and have him enter something into the transaction management software and disguise low, it is a completely different person that you're dealing with. He gets stressed, he gets anxious, he gets upset, he gets frustrated because it's not his zone of genius. So we've been working together to help him become aware of those shifts and do this for yourself. Start paying attention to when you just start taking on somebody else's role or grabbing their instrument to play it. How does that make you feel? How does it make your body feel? How does it make your mind feel? How does it make you react to the world around you? You see, when you pull yourself out of your zone of genius to play the flute, when you're the conductor, you waste so much time. Not only are you pulling yourself out of that zone of genius that is you, it takes twice as much effort to get back to where you were before because you've completely distracted yourself. You've lost all of your momentum. Everything is drained, and you have to refill the tank. And that's not good. I have a friend that says just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should. Start asking yourself that question when you start noticing those little drains on energy. Now, I am comfortable with technology and our systems and not roles, systems and the ways that we get transactions done. I would be super fine doing the paperwork and tracking the deadlines and all that stuff. However, it's still not my zone of genius. So even if I'm somewhat comfortable with it, it's still taking me away from income producing things. Just because I can do it doesn't mean that I should. So, what did I do? I found an amazing transaction coordinator, and we're going to bring Jessica up for a conversation in just a few minutes. But the result of having someone who can take all of those things off of your plate is that you get to focus on your zone of genius. You get to stay in that zone of genius so that you can provide your clients with a better experience, have fewer dropped balls. There's nothing worse than being at an inspection and realizing you didn't schedule it. And the seller's calling the seller's agent saying, "Why are you in my house? You weren't supposed to be there. You dropped a ball." Staying in your zone of genius is going to help you not drop so many balls. It's also going to result in more closings for you because the more you can stay in that zone, the more you can translate that energy into income, right? Tony Robbins says, where our focus goes, our energy flows. So if we're focused on staying in that zone of genius, we're going to produce a lot more energy that also converts to income. The final result of a great transaction coordinator is less nervous system overload, not just yours, but the transaction. If you can have that calm and ease, knowing that you have a great person on the other side partnering with you to help get that transaction to the finish line, it is going to be so much stress and anxiety off of your chest and off of the transactions. Now, I'm not saying or suggesting that you pull back entirely, drop a contract off, and then show up at a closing table in 4 weeks. What I'm saying is you balance leadership without abdicating your roles and responsibilities. It's not that you don't know what's going on in your transactions. You absolutely do. You're just not necessarily the one doing it. You understand the process and what's supposed to happen so that you can lead. So that if there is a problem with the trumpet section, you can help them tweak it. You don't go play the trumpet for them, right? You're not the one performing every task. You're not babysitting every step. You're not carrying all the load. The heart can't do what the nervous system does, right? Can the nervous system do what the heart does? No, it can't. You know where you belong in the transaction and you stay in that lane. You're not abdicating responsibility or anything like that. You're leading. You're leading from the right position, that conductor position. When everybody works together, we move forward. We move forward in the body of the transaction. Now, here are my top 5 tips with working with a transaction coordinator. We're going to go through these quickly. First, and you'll notice this is going to be a theme here, be an agent in flow. Be an agent in flow. You want to make sure that you're not forcing things. You're not hustle, 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 trying to make it happen. If you will take a deep breath in and look inside and allow inner guidance to help you, you're going to build a stronger, more successful, and definitely more sustainable business, which is going to allow you to stay in that conductor role and run the transaction. I developed a method called the flow method. It stands for focus, lean in, open, and work. Focus just means paying attention to what's happening. Leaning in means we're listening. We're listening first to our human, right? Our human that's upset or celebrating or whatever. And then we listen to our inner voice or spirit or source or God or whatever you relate to in that area. As we listen to what our spirit says, we become open to inspired actions. Those inspired actions help us find that way forward. However, having a list of inspired actions isn't good unless we actually step and take that action. And that's the work part of the flow method. Calm energy equals better decisions. Creativity, problem solving, building, growing, expanding, these all live in alignment, not in stress and force. So be an agent in flow. Number two, let go of control. Know your role, know their role, don't micromanage, and don't grab the instrument. Know your role. Trust your partner. Number three, build strong relationships. Take time to invest in that relationship with your coordinator. Jessica and I have been working together for quite some time now. Um, a few years, right, Jess?
A few, yep.
Um, and we know each other very well. She knows how my brain is always thinking of 100,000 different things, and she does a really great job at helping me focus on the thing that I need to be focused on. She knows how I work and think, and I know that she's going to get the job done, right? Understand each other's motivations and communication styles, know when to push, when to pause, when to pull. Know and build that strong relationship because it will pay you over and over again. It is the best investment that you can make. When we understand each other, we can work well together and make beautiful music. Number four, trust your partnership. Trust is essential. You have to know that when you hand off that contract, the things on your checklist or however you track things are going to be done. If trust is broken, you can find a better fit. I have been through a couple of different transaction coordinators over the years, not necessarily because they were bad. We just weren't a good fit, right? They didn't get me, I didn't get them. We couldn't understand each other, and that's okay. If trust is growing, though, if you click with somebody, nurture that relationship. If they make a mistake, you don't, if the trumpets are out of tune, you don't say, okay, trumpets, get out, right? No, you help them fix it. So nurture, that's a nurturing act to do. If your transaction coordinator makes some mistakes or doesn't do something the way that you want it done, your job is then to communicate and help them do it the way that you want it done. Because at the end of the day, it's your vision, it's your music that you're conducting. Compassionate direction builds long-term excellence. When we can be in flow and communicate with compassion, we're going to build long-term excellence. If we go in like a bull in a china shop, people are either going to be terrified of us or not want to work with us, or we're going to just kind of have a revolving door. We don't want that. That also makes it very hard to get any traction if you're constantly having to replace things. So communicate with compassion and build long-term excellence. Finally, make the investment. Of course, there's going to be a learning curve. Those first couple of transactions you hand off might be a little bit rocky to you. I will almost guarantee you that if you've made a good investment in a relationship, it is not going to seem as rocky to everyone else as it might seem to you. You're just getting used to something new, right? I've started doing push-ups this year, and don't ask me why. It just inspired action. That's all we're going to say about that. But I started doing push-ups this year, and sometimes it's really uncomfortable. It doesn't necessarily feel good to me all of the time. However, it's starting to have effects and it's starting to work. And the way that it looks on the outside is not necessarily the way I felt on the inside the first few times that I started doing push-ups or anytime I increase the number that I'm doing. So remember, there's a learning curve. Rhythm takes repetition. However, once we are aligned, once we are working together, once the player knows how the conductor leads a certain section or likes a certain thing, then you're gaining that freedom, your transactions flow, and the music just keeps getting better. All right. We have talked about the role of the transaction coordinator, and we have talked about our role in the transaction. Our stage is set. Let us now bring Miss Jessica DeShane forward, and we are going to just have a conversation about how we work together, what things does a transaction coordinator need, and just kind of have a conversation about how it works in the transaction together. So first, Jessica has been in real estate for eight years.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, 8 years.
Seems
Oh,
longer.
look, I had it on the slide. Jessica's been a licensed agent for 8 years. She's been doing my transaction coordination for 4 years now. And she also has extensive knowledge of the title side, which kind of gives us even a little extra edge in the transaction coordination. But she's been where we are as agents. She understands our role. She also understands a few of the other roles in the transaction, working closely with lenders and title companies as she does. But Jessica is super fantastic. I really can't say enough about her. So I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about what she does and how she operates to start off. So Jess, why don't you tell us what a transaction coordinator does?
Yeah. Yeah, you set that stage really up nice. Because the real question is, what is that hidden cost of doing it all by yourself?
Yeah.
Because most agents, they don't lose deals because they're bad at sales. They're usually great at sales, but you lose time, energy, and, sometimes contracts because agents are doing everything. There's, in every transaction, there's 100+ micro tasks, and none of those make money. But missing just one of those could absolutely cost you a deal.
Yeah.
So, you're great at negotiating, but not chasing that paperwork. Transactions, they steal time from lead generation and that client care, the things that you're great at. And one missed date can mean, having to do an extension, even worse, a termination, and even worse than that, than a reputation damage. And that's the very last thing an agent wants is a reputation damage. Unfortunately, we know that clients, they don't see busy. What they see is disorganized. So growth stalls, when agents are stuck in that admin mode. And those are just, a few of those hidden costs of agents having to do it all by themselves. So what I really want is for agents to be able to focus on their clients, those negotiations, and growing your business. I I handle all of the contract compliance, all those deadlines and timelines that have to be met, any communication follow-up, and then of course all those documents, all those 100 documents that we deal with. And that helps you get back that mental space. I keep those proactive updates to agents. There is always a clear checklist to know where that transaction is at, what's been done, what's coming up next. And I get it all from just one intake form, just as us we build that relationship. Because my goal isn't to replace you. I'm here to protect you. And that's what I do. A transaction coordinator, like you stated, is not an expense. It's risk management, it's time recovery, and it's scalability all in one.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if your business depends on you remembering everything, it's not scalable. But if your systems remember for you, then it is.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. If say that one more time.
Yeah. If your business depends on you remembering everything, it's not scalable.
Right.
But if your systems remember for you, then it is.
Ooh, we need to have have that on a little napkin or something. Shirt. That's a good line. Okay, tell us some of the things that transaction corner I can't say that today. Transaction coordinators don't do.
Right. Yeah. I'm not your brain or your mouth, right? I don't negotiate your contracts. I don't make your decisions for you. I'm not doing anything strategic in your contract. I am simply your hand in your compliance. I want to make sure your paperwork is done for you. So if you say, hey, we just went over our inspection report. I need this done in a contract. I mean, how much more time is that saved for you, right? You're telling me in a 2-minute conversation what needs to be done, and I'm writing it out, sending it out for signatures, and you look like a rock star because we've done everything that would have taken you by yourself, likely an entire day chasing by the time find the time to find a computer to sit behind and do. It's out the door, and the other agent just knows that you're on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. So you're not doing our job, our brain or our mouth job. You are handling all of those details from the time we have a contract, whether it's a listing contract or a purchase contract, to the time that we all sit at the closing table. That is nice. That is nice to know. So, what kind of information do you need upfront from an agent?
Well, what's really great is that the intake form is super easy. It's just a link in my email signature. We'll share it here, and it captures everything I need. I just need to know who we're working with, who's in the contract, who are the buyers or sellers, who is the lender we're using, the title company we're using, and how am I to communicate with those people. Once I know all of the parties that's in, just keeping me updated and part of the communication is going to be key.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I know you've worked with lots of different agents over the years. What works best for you? I know I have on here like agents can best work with a transaction coordinator by providing the information that you need up front, setting clear expectations, like how do I like things done? What is my flow? How you communicate with me, those kinds of expectations, and then giving you timely responses and exercising mutual respect, understanding that you're a professional just like I am, and we all deserve mutual respect and kindness. But what are some areas that you've had transactions that didn't go as well as you would like in that? What areas tend to break down the most when you're dealing with an agent?
Yeah, I think the biggest part of breakdown is dealing with the communication of all the parties.
Mhm.
It's critical, if there is, a lender who picked up a phone and needed something, and an email goes out for a request for something, and I'm not part of that communication. I then can't help you hunt that down or follow up on it or ensure the lender has it or be able to answer a question that the buyer might have because of what the lender needs. So just being part of all communication is super important, just so that we are all on the same page, and we all understand what's going on.
Yeah.
That's
I can personally attest to a couple of times in transactions where, because Jessica's on the communications that I'm on, she has picked up on things that I might have overlooked or missed and been like, "Hey, da 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 da, did you send that email or did you get that piece of information?" And I'm like, "What piece of information?" She's like, "In this email," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I totally missed it." And I don't know about you guys. I'm lucky if I read my emails once. Reading them twice is probably not gonna happen without some sort of motivation or inspiration to do so. So having that second set of eyes is so helpful. So definitely, I think making sure that you're on all the communications in the transaction is such a huge benefit to me because you'll pick and sometimes you'll pick up things that I didn't and complete them and be like, oh, so I took care of blah blah blah, and I'm like, what blah blah blah. What happened? But you've already taken care of it for me, and that's kind of the beauty of having. It's also the beauty of having someone who has already been an agent and understands. Like, I'm out showing houses, I'm out on listing appointments, I'm teaching classes, I'm running the branch, I'm doing so many other things that, of course, I'm not going to do everything perfectly or read every text perfectly. I'm going to miss some things. It's nice to have that second set of eyes to be like, oh, uh, you missed the initials on page 6, so I went ahead and sent that out for you. No big deal. Like just having that partnership really gives me peace of mind because I know together our chances of dropping a ball are much less than if it's just me trying to juggle all the balls
Yeah,
myself.
well, we're always thinking, right? You've got those agents that you get in a contract with that you just know they're going to be on it. They're going to be on top of their game. They're going to have what you need right away.
Yeah.
And that's my goal. I never want you to be the agent, that they talk like, oh my goodness, there's Jen and she's going
Oh,
to
I don't
take
want to be in
forever
a,
to respond.
yeah. I don't want to be in a transaction with them. We all have those agents where we're like, oh no, this is
Mhm.
going to be fun. Let's gear up and be ready to do all the parts because
Mhm.
I don't ever want to be that agent. I want people when they see my name on a contract to be like, oh my gosh, I hope this offer wins, right? I hope my clients like this house the best, whatever the case may be. Let's talk a little bit about pitfalls to avoid. We talked about communication, obviously, but also that not providing information. It's a huge thing. And then micromanaging. I'm going to say trust your checklist. Working with Jessica, you actually get it's a really nice spreadsheet where all of your transactions, you can see like what part you're on, when it's been completed, what's been done. In each part of the transactions, like pre-contract, during contract, inspection period, appraisal, all of these things are like color coded and it's all there. It's so nice. And guess what that means? I don't have to micromanage. I can be like, hi, Jessica, did you get that inspection addendum done? Hi, Jessica, did you send the inspection back for signatures? I, I don't have to do that because it's all on the spreadsheet and I can track it myself. So it relieves me of even that urge to micromanage. I don't really have an urge to micromanage. I probably macromanage too much, but it's okay. Also, like, do you ever have agents that don't respond to your emails or your texts or your carrier pigeons or your flares?
Players. Yeah. Yes, I've had that. I've had that happen. Um, it again, I've been in those shoes. I get how busy agents can be. But I can promise that if I am reaching out, I try to do the steps, right? First is email. It's not super urgent, then a text message. Hey, we need a chit chat, and then it's picking up the phone, making a phone call. I try to, escalate that way. And so when there isn't that communication, it does hurt. It hurts all of the parties, not
Yeah.
just the relationship between transaction coordinator and the agent, but then that's likely affecting, you know, title or lender or buyers or sellers, or
Mhm.
other agents. So,
And apart from that, I think when we don't respond, when it's crickets, when you feel ghosted in the middle of a transaction you're just trying to help on, that's not showing mutual respect. That's
right.
not showing the care and kindness that everyone is due in this transaction. We get that we're crazy. Even if you can just be like, okay, great, I will get to you later, or hey, I'm super slammed right now. Can you reach back out? Just giving that direction. Can you reach back out? And Jessica will do this. I don't know if it's wise. Can you reach back out after 6?
I do, right? You just know there is no, unfortunately, in real estate, there is no, 8 to 5 time frame that doesn't exist in
Doesn't.
real estate.
Doesn't.
So,
That's okay. And then don't
yeah.
make assumptions instead of communicating, right? Don't assume you understand the motivations of the transaction coordinator or anybody else, really. Communicate.
Mhm.
Communicate, ask the question, hey, Jessica, why did you send this out or whatever? That's just part of, again, that relationship building process is not making assumptions, but communicating for sure. All right. So as we finish up, Jessica, is there anything else that, or any tips or hints that you can give folks? And I know a lot of you are probably wondering how you can work with Jessica, and we're going to talk about that in just one second. I will get you connected with her. She does have space. She is amazing and has capacity to take on more transactions if that's what you're looking for, if it's time for you to finally make that investment in yourself and your business. So, anything else that you want to say before we end our conversation, Jessica?
I would just say try it. At least try one, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
hurt to try. Give it a give it a whirl and see how much your lane opens to continue to grow your business. Give it a try.
Yeah. I mean, and guys, it's not even necessarily that you then have to shift to always being in that hunting and prospecting and getting the next deal thing. Sometimes freeing up that space gives you much needed time for self-care. Maybe now you have time to go get that massage or take that walk in the park or do the thing that you love that brings you peace and recharges your batteries a little bit more that otherwise you would have been fighting with Sky Slope or fighting with Flex or fighting with whatever the 27 Bold Trail. Oh my gosh, Bold Trail. No, I don't have any frustrations with Bold Trail at all. It's fabulous. All right, so as we close, I would love for you guys to really start thinking through these things. Where are you trying to play every instrument? What areas are your gotchas where you, oh, I'm doing it again? And what would you change or what would change for you if you started looking at everything in your life as an investment that desires a return? How does that change your life? What would change for you if you trusted your nervous system? Would you be able to go do that float? Would you be able to get that massage? Would you be able to actually go buy clothes that you tried on, not just got on Amazon and hope they fit? What would change if you trusted your nervous system? And then I want you to really dig deep and ask yourself, what investment are you resisting that could actually unlock your next level? What is that thing that you're resisting? Oh, I should really do this. I should really give this a try. This could change everything for me, but I'm scared. What is that thing? All right. We really appreciate you joining us for this second session of Anatomy of a Transaction, talking about transaction coordinator. I do want to just say a real quick note. About your inspectors, appraisers, and the other ancillary people that are involved in the transaction from either side. You want to make sure that you're building relationships with those people, that you have several of them that you have relationships with, so that if your preferred inspector is busy, you have a backup and a backup to him or her, that you understand what the appraiser is trying to accomplish and do the things that you can to help those processes go better. Again, as long as you're communicating and understanding that your clients are making investments in these things, just like you're investing in the relationship, the better and smoother those things are going to go for you as you move through your transaction. But let's talk about next steps. So we have an amazing transaction coordinator here. If you have not started working with a transaction coordinator, I cannot recommend Jessica highly enough. She is absolutely unbelievably fantastic. Now, if our pictures are covering the QR code in the recording, that's fine, because if you have this recording, you also have the link to these slides yourself. So you can scan that QR code and order a transaction coordination service from Jessica. You can do that today, as soon as today, as soon as right now. The resources that she carries with her are systems, checklists, communication tools, support structures, and she's just amazing to work with. If you want to find somebody that you can trust easily, I highly recommend Jessica. If you want to take a look at what uh, her checklist looks like, or her transaction flow looks like, you can scan this QR code. It will take you to the same thing that you receive when you put in an order for transaction coordination. It's called Track Your Transaction, and you're going to love it. I guarantee you're going to love it. It's makes everything so much easier. If I can just take a glance, right? I'm conducting. I don't have time to write the music. I only have time to know how it's supposed to sound and work with everybody to make it sound that way. So having this checklist, having this easy way to just glance and see where we're at and see where we're going is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Now, if you want to learn more about how to be an agent in flow, about that flow method, I happen to write a book about it. It's not a long book. It's a short little ebook. It also has a bundle that you can get with it that has meditations on the flow method and how to help yourself get to that space. If you're not familiar with meditating or things like that, those guided meditations can be really helpful. It has a journal that will help you ask yourself questions so that you can start recognizing when you're in flow and when you're out of flow. And it has an assessment tool that will help you, again, start recognizing those places where you tend to force, not flow, or places where you're like, hey, I'm already in flow. This is amazing. So just being aware, raising your awareness of where you're at makes such a huge difference in your balance, in the sustainability, and the success of your business. Because the more you can act in inspired action, the more that is going to come to you, right? The more you start attracting what you want rather than feeling like you have to chase it down. If you get on there and order right now through this method, you can use the code TCB, that stands for the Cedar Branch, TCB25, and get 25% off the bundle. So do that today. Now, if you've been a part of this series and you're like, man, I want to be part of the Cedar Branch, well, guess what? You can scan this QR code and it will take you to the Cedar Branch's website, where you can learn more about what we're creating and cultivating here as a community of agents that collaborate for everyone's success. We also have in-person and virtual memberships to the Cedar Branch. Um, this is not the only thing that we do. We have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, we do mindset and meditation from 8:30 to 9 o'clock. And then at 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, we have dedicated time. We call it connecting with clients. And that's our time that we dedicate to really taking on those prospecting activities and doing the things that we need to do to move our businesses forward. So that's Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Most of the membership levels come with some sort of coaching, at least a one-on-one consult. Virtually, you can come in on everything. We have a room for meditation and mindset in the mornings at 8:30. So you can hop on there and hear what we're hearing, or just know that you're in a group of people that is focused on getting their mind straight. We also have a virtual room for connecting with clients. If you just want to be there and know, like, we're building a force, right? We're building a collaboration of agents. We're all producing that energy that just really helps us move forward a lot faster and better. But if you're here in the greater Lansing area or surrounding area and you want to come physically be present in this energy, in what's happening here, you can also do that. We have in-person and virtual membership. So scan that QR code and learn a little bit more about what we have going on here at the Cedar Branch. Now, how do you invest in yourself? Obviously, build that team, build that team, but also invest in yourself. I like to say investing in yourself is not investing in yourself, it's investing in yourself because you're becoming the best version. You're uncovering that best version of yourself. And a great first step to that is to find a coach. Luckily, I do have coaching programs here at the Cedar Branch. We focus primarily, our coaching program is focused to create a bulletproof mindset, help you develop your millionaire identity. And it's not necessarily a dollar amount, guys. It's just a feeling. It's a way that you are in the world. We also focus on helping you unlock your imagination and developing an inspired strategic action plan. You can book a one-on-one consult at Bluebird U. That's the coaching arm of the Cedar Branch, or scan that QR code and we will work with you to help you reach those goals. If you want to build something great, you have to invest in yourself and you will get a return on those investments when you demand such. All right, that is all we have for today. Next week, please make sure you join us here Wednesday, 12 to 1 o'clock. Same bat time, same bat place. Except next week, we're talking about the lifeblood of the transaction, and that's the lenders. We'll have Jason Dupree here from Texana Bank, not only to tell you about how to work with lenders, but maybe also help you understand the amazing Remlo program that can open a new income stream for you. So talk about an investment. You want to invest in yourself and be here next Wednesday. All right, we'll see you around town. Bye.